Welcome to the Seller Roundtable e-commerce coaching and business strategies with Andy Arnott and Amy Wees.
What you think makes a good product for Kickstarter, or have you ever tried Indiegogo? And from what I've heard, Indiegogo will also let you keep money. Like you can set like two different kind of goals. One's like, I want to keep the money and produce it no matter what. Or if I don't hit the goal, then you get the money back. From what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong there, Chris. But anyway, kind of what, give us the steps leading up to kind of your Kickstarter launch.
Well, yeah, sure. I can tell you where I am now. So what I've done is so I came up with this idea about a year ago, and I really cemented it in my head. Okay, I'm going to do this. This is too good of an idea. I have some friends. It's just weird how small the world is. I have a really close friend of mine from college who's married now to a guy that is a professional board game developer. Which is by the way, this is another crazy thing. So there's this trade group called GAMA, okay, and it's the Game Association something of America. Okay, they have about 1,200 members. Every professional board game designer is in this, and there's less than 200 professional board and card game designers in the country. That's 200 people. Okay, and here's the thing also about Kickstarter that people don't realize. The board game section of Kickstarter has done over $1 billion in sales. Okay, now that's a drop in the bucket compared to Amazon. Don't get me wrong, but that's between like 200 people versus how many people are selling on Amazon. And yes, it's a much smaller market, but it's a much bigger pie or a much bigger slice of that pie for each seller. That's part of the reason I like Kickstarter so much. The everyday carry category on Kickstarter is equally like very lucrative, small amount of people, big amount of money.
How do you check these metrics on Kickstarter?
I would listen to a podcast and they said that. They actually released that info, but it'll be like over $1 billion or, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. And also a lot of people don't know this. Kickstarter's owned by Amazon. Important to point out. So they do release some metrics, but it is, I believe, still private. Like it's not part of Amazon, and that like you can look up Amazon's revenue because it's a publicly traded company. It's public information. Kickstarter, it's not, but they do release very detailed numbers. So
Got it. And would you say that, there's definitely still a requirement to be a really great copywriter and be able to properly design your Kickstarter page in order to get the most organic reach on Kickstarter? Yes. And how much of your reach would you say is organic versus like when you're going to launch your new card game, which sounds really cool, by the way. When you're doing that, how much of your reach do you feel like you had to reach out and get, like you had to advertise for or reach out in groups and stuff like that versus people just coming to Kickstarter organically?
Well, that's kind of hard to say. One of the problems with Kickstarter, in talking to people that have done Kickstarters, not just my friends, but just, it's funny, you talk about meeting people. So there was a trade show in Ohio a couple months ago, and I put it out like, hey, if anybody needs a pit stop in Altoona, come to my place. You can crash on my couch. I had somebody that had done over $10 million on Kickstarter, just chilling in my house, drinking gin and tonics and eating pizza, and was able to really pick his brain quite a bit. What the suggestion is to not at all rely on Kickstarter for any traffic. Okay, assume zero. So like with a card game, but I want to make this more general. Let me tell you exactly where I'm at. So I came up with an idea about a year ago, about 6 months ago. I was like, I'm going to do this. So what I've been doing since then is building my Instagram. Okay. I genuinely believe that Instagram is the best social media for selling things. Humans are visual creatures. We are naturally predators, where our eyes are on the front of our face. If you know biology, if an animal's eyes are on the front of the face, they're a hunter. Okay. So we want to look at images. Okay. So I'm doing this party card game, which I'm looking at the people that are sharing, here's my funny hand from Cards Against Humanity. If you like Cards Against Humanity, you're going to like my game. It's just, I'm the target market. I like Cards Against Humanity. I like my game. So it makes sense to me. I also have another game that I'm going to be working on that's a true crime card game. So, like serial killers and stuff. So people that are following the My Favorite Murder, the the Mindhunter Instagram, the Paul Holes Instagram. He's a true crime guy. I'm trying to absorb that into my Instagram and provide value with these people. So like a lot of times, like what I'm doing with like my true crime thing is I put out a serial killer fact every couple days, and it actually gets a lot of really good organic traction that way. I've paid nothing for Instagram. I don't believe in paying for Instagram marketing. So that's what I'm working on right now. And then I've also built some work in with some influencers, and going back to being real lucky with who I went to high school with. A girl that I went to high school with is this is a real job, I promise. She is a professional meme maker. That's her job. She gets paid to do this and has a TV show on Adult Swim. Okay. That's crazy. The world's it's a very weird time to be alive. So I've worked with her, and she's actually going to help me write some cards, and has referenced me to some people that are also going to be able to help me with writing cards, because I'm not a comedian, okay? So I need funny cards for my card game. I have some, and she was looking through some of them, and she's like, these are cringy. Like, they were pretty bad. I'm embarrassed with some of these things that I wrote down. So having somebody that's actually a professional comedian, and I'm paying her by the card that she writes. So, and then she also is going to do some affiliate stuff for me. But so that's where I'm building my traffic. I think that Instagram's the way to go, and then using her Instagram to leverage will be very, very powerful. I do have a Facebook for it and stuff like that, but for the most part, I'm just going to keep it all Instagram. There's also another website, and you know, I'm talking a lot about card games, but there's social networks. A lot of people don't realize this. They're like, oh, those social networks, that's Facebook. But there's like card game or Board Game Geek, okay? BGG, as the cool kids in the board game community call it, BGG, sup? That's a social media platform for board games, okay? And, you know, if you're doing cat stuff, there's got to be a social media like thing just for cats. That's not Instagram, even though it does seem like Instagram is 90% cats.
It's Reddit. That's what it is.
Okay.
Reddit is insane for cats. And Reddit's insane for like board games and stuff too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And
but I would say, like, you know, we were talking about Instagram being like number one. And I would agree with that in most cases, except for like home decor, kitchen, stuff like that. That would definitely be Pinterest. 100%. Exactly. So, Pinterest. you know, so that would be, but it's harder on Pinterest to build an audience in the way that you can interact with people on Instagram. Right.
Correct.
So it's kind of, you know, it's like, you definitely have to have different, strategies for building out Pinterest or Instagram or Reddit or anything like that. Because, you know, if you post something even somewhat salesy on Reddit, they will just like ban you for life. Yeah, exactly. So that's really cool.
Yeah. So I've been building those for months, even though I don't even have a product finished. Okay. So what I've done recently is I've hired an art director who has designed the layout of my game. I've started working with some comedians. I also hired a guy that professionally writes card game instructions. Again, I'm finding so many weird jobs I didn't know existed. So there's a guy, and I gave him my card game instruction manual, and he's actually rewriting them to make sense. And him and his wife, and they have a playtesting group. And that's where I'm at right now. So I'm probably going to launch this for the either early next year or by the end of the year. This is not going to be a Christmas delivery. It's way too late. So a lot of people do Kickstarters for like, I think the shortest you can do a Kickstarter is 14 days. And I think the longest you can do is 90 days. There's some like rules on that on different categories, but you have to look it up specifically for what you're doing. And that's what I've been working on and just going ahead with it. And here's the thing about it. All of this has cost me less than $1,000. Okay. Like, you know, the comedians are all working on writing this stuff. I've given them what I want. I've shown them the cards I've already written, and I'm actually going to pay them. I pay them about $100 a card they write. Okay. And then some residual. So it's, you know, a lot of the money is all in the back end. You know, Cards Against Humanity did like $5 million on Kickstarter. And it's the #1 card game on Amazon. It's the #1 toy on Amazon, I should say. If you look up, it's ranked 1 in toys. Okay. So I mean, a lot of these people are hoping that I'm that successful because I would owe them a lot of money because they're getting a little bit of a residual from stuff. So, and that's kind of how I'm funding this fairly inexpensively. Okay, and then what I'll do is there's custom printers that'll print low quantity amounts of card games. So I can get like 50, and 50 of them will be about $500 or so, about $10 a deck, and then I'm going to get them out to reviewers. Because again, with any niche, cats or board games, there are people whose entire Instagram is just card games, them playing and reviewing card games. There's Twitch streams, there's YouTube, there's what's the new Windows one that everybody, I forget what that one's called, but there's all these streaming people that are just doing board game reviews. It's a huge thing.
Thanks for tuning in. Join us every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for live Q&A and bonus content after the recording at SellerRoundtable.com. Sponsored by the ultimate software tool for Amazon sales and growth, SellerSEO.com and AmazingAtHome.com.